she lost a lot of weight through the whole white knuckling thing, and then was having problems with it coming back, as everyone typically does when you do it that way. And she wants to share how Gabriel Method has helped her. So let's welcome Lisa.
That was the perfect segue, thank you. Okay, before I forget to say this, if you have any questions or comments, please come find me. I would love to talk to all of you. A little bit of a different energy. Hi. I'm so excited to be here. I could spend a day and a half talking about how grateful and hyped I am to just be standing in front of you. But I don't have time like that, so let's do this. All right. So, my story starts at the very beginning. I like to say that as soon as I could feed myself, I was eating too much. I don't know how old I am in here, but it doesn't really matter. My parents always tried to get me to lose weight. My doctors, nutritionists, weight loss consultants, counselors, that was my whole childhood. Nothing lasted more than like a week or 2 weeks. My pediatrician actually had to write a note to get me through the doors of Weight Watchers the first time I went. So it's not that I didn't try to diet, I did, but, okay, now we're in middle school. So the pink dress is my bat mitzvah. That was 13, the day I turned 13, and I was over 200 pounds in that picture. But I considered myself a skinny girl in a fat suit. I'm sure a lot of you can identify with this. I'm stuck in this body that doesn't make sense for me. Because I had a ton of friends. I was really popular and outgoing. I was dancing on stage in musicals. The year after this, actually, I was the captain of my softball team in 8th grade. So nothing was stopping me. My obesity wasn't a part of my life. It just kind of was. And then in high school, this pink dress is prom. Now I'm closer to 300 pounds. And because obesity wasn't really a problem for me, I could just pretend that it wasn't emotional, it wasn't social, it wasn't a thing. In 9th grade, my parents sent me to therapy after years and years of ongoing emotional trauma at home. And my therapist suggested to me, maybe you're using food to cope, maybe this is emotional, maybe you're building a shield, maybe you're suppressing things. And I suggested to her that she doesn't know what she's talking about. No one does. I'm hungry, leave me alone. I'm fine. I can handle everything, I'm fine. So that was high school. And then I graduated high school a year early and I took a gap year. I went to Italy and then I went to New Zealand. And then I became a freshman at the University of Michigan, go Blue. And yay! And then after freshman year, I went back to Jenny Craig, which I had first visited when I was in New Zealand, when I was 302 pounds. And I kind of decided, okay, this is it. I'm going to try this again. And weight loss for me was just like this. Some things send you in the direction of weight loss, some things don't. Diet and exercise, yes. Anything else, no. If you offered me something, I didn't even really find it tempting because it was like just a step back in the wrong direction. That's all carbs were. It was just backwards. Because for me, it was a means to an end. It was the ultimate solution to the only problem that I actually had in my life. I'll be happy when. So that's what I did for a year, diet and exercise. That's 120, 130 pounds from the first week of May 2012 to the first week of May 2013. Yeah. And that's my best friend and I in my extra large overalls before we threw them out. And at this point, I'm on top of the world. I wake up every morning 130 pounds lighter than I was because of sheer willpower. I am the strongest, most determined human being on the planet. And it feels as good as it should. And then, the following May, so after a full year of extreme diet and exercise, I hit a plateau. And at this point, I know what is going to make me gain, what's going to make me lose, and how to maintain. So I know every day for 2 weeks, the scale was not moving. And I was going crazy at this point. I am the master of weight loss. I know everything about this, and it has worked until now. What's going on? So I call my mom's friend, who's a nutritionist, and she goes, well, what are you eating every day? And I was like, listen, Mary, I know how much to eat, and I'm eating less. I know how much to burn off, and I'm burning off more. Why isn't this working? And she goes, are you still getting your period? And I was like, that's so funny that you asked, because actually 2 weeks ago, for the first time in my entire life, it didn't come. And she goes, yeah, you need to stop for now. And I was like, what do you mean, stop? She was like, your body's hit a starvation mode. It is literally fighting you to keep weight on. You don't have a choice. So I was like, I have 10 pounds left to lose. That phone call ends with, you have eating disorder tendencies, which at the time really meant you have an eating disorder, you just don't know it yet. And the last few months leading up to this phone call, I had been feeling kind of unstable, kind of sick. I didn't really know exactly what was going on. My hair was falling out. I was freezing all the time, everywhere. I was dizzy, nauseous, tired, fatigued. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't poop. I was just a mess. And I didn't know what was going on, so I went to my doctor, my parents' doctor, an endocrinologist, OBGYN. All of them came to the same conclusion. You lost a lot of weight really fast, and with maintenance, it will subside. They saw my body, and they saw my blood work, and they said, congratulations, this is the healthiest you've ever been. So at this point, the summer becomes, I need to eat more, exercise less, which is the exact opposite of everything I've ever been told. So every single decision of every single day, eat, don't eat, go to the gym, don't go to the gym, and I never knew really what to do. It was a fight all the time, all the time. So I had this moment in the beginning of July where I woke up 3 days in a row with a fever over 100. My glands are swollen, my head hurts, my body is like aching. So I roll out of bed, I take 3 Advil, and I go to the gym. And on the 3rd day, I get off the Stairmaster, of course, and go to stretch on the mats, and I can't hold it in. I'm bawling because I hear in my head, what are you doing here? Like, you're not okay. This is not okay. This is what an eating disorder is, and you have one now. And then in August, I had a tummy tuck where they removed between 5 and 6 pounds of skin off my stomach. And what I remember was sitting in the bed after the surgery, and the nurse handed me a pack of saltine crackers because they only serve you the most nutritious food in the hospital. And I remember grabbing my phone and Googling how many calories are in saltine crackers. And at that moment, I mean, like Paula was talking about these moments, these transformative moments, and I had those all throughout the summer, like, you are not okay. This is not fine. So at this point, I'm on the phone with my nutritionist and my therapist once a week because I fully admit my entire life is fear. I can't eat food, everything's gonna make me gain weight, I'm losing control of my body and my life, and I'm afraid of everything. So I call my mom from school in September and tell her, this is the least I've ever weighed and the least happy I've ever been. The ultimate irony of the entire situation. And then it got interesting. It wasn't interesting yet, now it's interesting. Because I started to notice the same things would happen now, at this point, that used to happen throughout my childhood. Everything from my family fighting and my friends arguing that I would once just laugh at or just completely brush off, or laugh at other people for being sad at, were now the things that would send me up into my room sobbing. And I just couldn't control it. I was never in control of my emotions. And then it became everything. It was homeless people on the street. It was old people with walkers. It was babies and weddings and rain and the news. The news was awful. I mean, turn on the TV when, oh my gosh. So I couldn't watch the news. I couldn't live my everyday life without being overcome with emotion of every kind for every single thing. Whereas I once felt really nothing. I was too strong to handle anything. I call that now Superman syndrome. And I would go to my therapist's office and I would just cry about society and oppression and injustice, and nothing in the world had actually changed except me. I was feeling everything all the time, and I didn't know what to do about it. Because both overeating and undereating were unhealthy ways of dealing with emotion. They were coping mechanisms. So by eating more and exercising less at this point, I am for the first time in my life establishing healthy habits. And I had never lived without unhealthy ways of dealing with emotion. So that was the struggle for a while. Just kind of dealing, like he was just saying, it was a death before it was a birth. So I start doing some research. I figure, okay, I clearly didn't have the answers. First it was one problem, then it was another problem. What do I do now? Watch Netflix documentaries. What does anyone do? So I see Hungry for Change, and I hear John Gabriel speak for the first time, and I really don't like what he has to say. This man has the audacity to suggest that diets don't work. And I was like, well, I just lost 150 pounds, so obviously they work. That's not gonna help me. But at the time, I'm trying to gravitate away from these eating disorder tendencies that had become my entire life. And as soon as I tried to give up the control and be a little less restrictive, I couldn't stop eating. And I thought, okay, well, you have the most willpower in the world, you know? We established that already. What's going on? And it was just down, up, down, up, down, up. And my maintenance sounded really familiar because it was John's story. It was lose 10, gain 15, lose 10, gain 15. And I myself kind of came to the same conclusion. Okay, I know for sure that if I start a diet, it will end in weight gain. So the only thing I can do is like cap it here and just live the rest of my life here. Because if I try and go down, it will come back up. That volleyball. So I do a lot more research. I buy his books. I become a huge advocate because he is the only person on the planet that has explained all of this. Everything along the way that didn't make any sense, once I started reading his books and listening to him speak, everything made sense. Which meant I was wrong about everything. Because what I learned was, it's not that diets don't work, it's that diets can't end. Diets do work. If your goal is weight loss, a diet will help you with that. We all know that. But by solving my weight problem, I only created another problem. By solving an addiction to food, I created an addiction to dieting, also known as an eating disorder. And two, there was always an emotional component. Because I could not deny any longer everything my therapist said growing up, my shield was gone, and I was vulnerable all the time. So I think back to the Omega retreat last year, when, how many of you saw the movie last night, the tapping movie? Okay, good amount, that's awesome. And Carol will be here tomorrow, so that's amazing for you guys. But basically, she posed this question to the audience last year that was, what are the pros of having weight on your body, and what are the cons of losing it? And I sat up against that pole in the back, sobbing once again, because I knew what was about to happen in here. There were some people that said, there are no downsides, I just need to get this off and I'll be good. And I thought, oh, I remember how fervently I believed that, and it's just not the case. There were also people saying, I'm afraid of intimacy, I'm afraid of attention, I'm afraid of failure, I'm afraid of, and I sat there thinking, how do they know? How do they know? Because I had no idea, emotionally speaking, what kind of uncharted territory I was getting myself into. And it made me upset that it feels like we're all a little bit brainwashed into thinking we just need to be smaller and then we'll be better. Because I got smaller. and it only made me really scared and sad and naked and vulnerable all the time. So, I made this list of new priorities. Instead of weight, it's health, wellness, self-love, feeling good, stress reduction, and balance and moderation. And my goals: eat enough, sleep more, smoke and drink less, stay off the scale, write, do yoga, meditate, visualize, practice gratitude. Because I realized basically my fear at this point is dieting. I pose dieting in my head as postponed weight gain. So every time I get restrictive, I'm like, that's just gonna backfire. And then I just kind of honestly watched as it worked. I just took a step back. I remember Tiffany's speech from last year: your body is the effect, not the cause. When you do all the right things inside, your body will be exactly what you want it to be, but only if you start inside. Thank you, Tiffany. I still say that to myself every day. So, this is why the Gabriel Method works. We don't have a problem losing weight. We all know how to do that. We have a problem maintaining it. But when people ask me now, how do I maintain my weight? It's not diet and exercise. That doesn't work. It's yoga, it's meditation, it's visualization, it's going to therapy. And on that note, it's crying, it's feeling. Because I know now, if I don't feel my feelings, I eat them. And I say to you, feel your feelings, the sadness, the frustration, the anger, the fear, all of it, to know that you don't need food to handle it. It's not gonna kill you. It might make you cry, and then you'll feel really good. So, transitioning into the Gabriel Method, here's my advice. Number one is fear. Expect it. Changing your habits and changing your life can be scary. 2, recognize it. I think like an actor with a really distinct voice, that's what you want to do with fear. You want to know immediately. Every voice that says get on the scale, run on the treadmill, burn all those calories, stay away from the carbs, da 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 da, all of those things, that's just fear. So you get strong at building that muscle that says, I hear you. Elizabeth Gilbert has an amazing quote: fear has a voice but not a vote. Bring it in the car but never let it drive. A lot of people, yeah. You'll hear it. That's not a bad thing. Fear is trying to protect you. Just don't obey it. Eleanor Roosevelt has the best quote about fear: you gain courage, strength, and confidence by every experience in which you stop to look fear in the face. You can say to yourself, I've lived through this horror, I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. And at this point, transitioning is the Gabriel Method. I had already gone from eat less, exercise more to eat more, exercise less, and I had fought that fear so much that I was stronger because of it. And you build that mental strength as you go. Look fear in the face. Do the thing you think you cannot do. Every time you choose yoga over running, etc., you know that this is the right thing. Because you're not going for fearless. You're going for brave, which is feeling fear and doing it anyway. And failure. Past failures. Okay. This is another Omega moment from last year. On day 5, John was leading us through a meditation. And at this point, I was still trying to find like one spiritual bone in my body. Like just one. My whole journal from last year's Omega is like, I just want to stop being so skeptical. And it happened. It really super happened. Because like I said, it really works. And you just experiment on yourself and you see it. But he said, call upon a higher power. And I call upon my higher self. And he says, ask this power to guide you, to lead you, to protect you, to keep you safe. And I heard this voice, like, not audibly, but kind of like from my heart to my head, saying, I've been here all along. I'm not going anywhere, I never will. I have always protected you, and I always will. And it hit me in that moment, and the Gabriel Method teaches all of us this. Perhaps I was only 300 pounds because I needed safety and comfort and protection. And maybe it wasn't failure after failure after failure, it was just safety. And maybe it was never my fault. And that has never gone away. So I say to you, all of us, I know a piece of you feels like you're a failure because you're here and you haven't got it yet. But I don't think that anyone deserves shame, guilt, and regret for seeking comfort, safety, and protection. And on that note, future failures, there's no such thing. Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, said, right? I haven't failed, I've only created 10,000 ways that don't work. So I think Heather will back me up. Every time you try a new recipe and it bombs and it's a disaster, and then you do it again and again and again, and then by the fifth time you do it, it's your perfect dish and everyone loves it. Life is the same way. You can never expect to do something for the first time and be good at it. Failure is the first step to success. So there was no failure ever. There will not be failure ever. You're learning and adjusting. And 3, faith. If you told me years ago I would be on stage talking about faith, I really wouldn't believe that. But life is funny that way. I was only successful at managing my weight loss effortlessly, weight maintenance effortlessly, when a spiritual practice was involved. When I chose faith, trust, and belief over control. That's how it works. So this is how I feel like life was. Before the Gabriel Method, it was, I'm doing everything wrong, I have no answers, I don't know what to do, I'm frustrated all the time. It just felt like this constant hitting a wall, dead end kind of thing. And with the Gabriel Method, your weight loss is effortless. Changing your life, though, is not. Going to a yoga class, having a daily meditation practice, etc., going to therapy, crying about the things that hurt you, opening up and doing that work, that's not effortless. But if you do all of that, your weight loss will be. So it's not that you won't have challenges and struggles, and it's not that it's going to be so easy and so straightforward. You won't always know what you're doing, but you know now that it's not going to hit a dead end. It is going to keep going. Even when you're blindsided and you don't know what's going on, you have the tools. You know what the resources are. You have the skills. You know where to turn. It's not a cardio machine. You know better now. That's the difference. So, okay, I leave you with, when you leave here, the rest of the world, unfortunately, is not Omega. Keep in mind that when you leave here and you're released into the real world, that you are going to be surrounded by eat less, exercise more, and all your friends and all your relatives know exactly how weight loss really works. And just kind of take a step back, say thanks, I know you're trying to help, but that's what we've all been trying to do, and we know better. So try to just thank you, but I'm okay. Because I said to John last year, I went up to him and I was like, yeah, but John, I'm a personal trainer and I'm trying to just get everyone to understand that it's really holistic wellness that they need, and everyone is dieting and calories out, and aren't you frustrated? And he said, well, yeah, I'm frustrated, but that's what we're here for. So that's what I'm here for.
Lisa Schlosberg, everyone.